Fortunately and unfortunately, my entrance came with the demise of Otis Redding and the Bar-Kays. After that accident, Alan Jones was assigned as a producer of the new Bar-Kays. So they were recruiting youngsters to replace the originals. And at that time, Roy Cunningham, who was the brother of Carl Cunningham, Roy was the drummer for the new Bar-Kays. Alan Jones, being the producer he was always looking for new ideas. Hence came the new Bar-Kays. And so I used to just follow those guys around. I've always loved Stax Records music. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. And in Pensacola, we only had 3 stations, and 2 of those would go off at 6 p.m. So during the day, I would listen to the R&B station, and at night you listen to JR from Nashville. And they played a lot of Stax Records music. And for some reason, I don't know, I guess it was a gift, it was destiny. I just fell in love with that Memphis sound. It was the most raw, pocketed, interesting stuff that I'd heard. You know, the Motown stuff and all that stuff from Philly and all that, it was polished. And it was beautiful, it was perfect. As we see, it stood the test of time.
How many of you seen the Blues Brothers movie? Remember Willie Hall? That's him.
Okay, so thank you for that, Doug. You should be working for
Well,
it.
you're not recognizing these.
So I don't know. I fell in love with the Memphis sound, and come to find out later on that a lot of this stuff was only done by 4 guys. You know, the original stuff. And it touched me. I also love the Beatles. You know, I fell in love with them too. But that Stax stuff, I don't know. I felt it was a destiny, to believe it or not. So my mom moved. She moved us to Memphis in '65, and I just had to have it, man. So I would go down to Stax. When I was in high school, my friend and I would go stand in front of Stax Records so that the kids from our school who would be on the bus, they would see us standing there. We'd be standing there like, yeah, man, we really worked hard today, you know. So, you know, guys would come out like Isaac and Steve Crawford and Duck and all those, and we would specifically try to lean over toward them, you know, so that the rest of our schoolmates would see us there, and we would go back and lie. And, yeah, man, we was hanging out with Steve and Duck, and, you know, we had no idea. But like I say, it touched me. I love what these guys did. I'm part of I guess it's the 2nd generation of Stax music, because these guys were there before me, and I came, like I say, with the new Bar-Kays. And so with the new Bar-Kays, I did a couple of years with them, and Al Bell had come up with this bright idea to record Isaac Hayes along with a lot of other artists. And Alan Jones had groomed us, Michael Toes, James Alexander, and myself, and a couple of keyboard players. Anyway, Alan Jones had groomed us so well. I remember on the Black Rock album, we spent a week in the studio. We couldn't leave, so our girlfriends and wives would have to pipe us in food, you know, because he wouldn't let us leave. We'd have to sleep on that hard-ass floor. You know? And but it helped, you know. He just drilled us. So we became when the MGs moved to California, we became the new Bar-Kays rhythm section became the house band, and so we were fortunate enough to cut a lot of the songs that these guys wrote. And so Isaac Hayes, you know, being as egotistical as he was and as active as he was, you know, Al Bell came up with the idea, and Isaac needed a band, so, hey man, I want to use y'all. And so he used James Alexander, Michael Toes, and myself to do Hot Butter Soul. And fortunately, you know, it broke all kinds of records. So one thing about a musician is, if you play with an artist that has a hit record, you become famous too. You you know, especially if your names are on the liner notes. So we all became famous, and Isaac's career just skyrocketed. So that made me sort of a household word. And from there, we started cutting other hits like Rufus Thomas, Carla Thomas, Billy Eckstein, Sammy Davis, June Hunt, a whole bunch of stuff. And this man here, which I love him to death because he's a creative person. He was always looking for innovative things to do. But I always thank him because one of the proudest, well, I don't use the word pride, but one of the things that I love most about my gift was that the Earl Scruggs Review album. And to me, I mean, you know, the Shaft and the Blues Brothers and all that was fine, but that was a country artist that was worldwide known through the, come listen to a story about a man named Joe. Oh, Billy Joel, Roger McQuinn from the Byrds, McEwen, Charlie Daniels, Bonnie Bramlett, the Pointer Sisters. I'll tell you a little story about the producer, Bob Johnson. We were in Nashville.
Hang on, so what you're saying is you were on, I didn't know this, you were on the Earl Scruggs Review album, the banjo player.
Yeah, it was called the Earl Scruggs Review. It was a double pocket album. And all those artists were, I was a part of. Billy Joel was my roommate, and I had to move because he stay up all night and play all night. Hell, I couldn't get no sleep. So I asked Don to tell the producer, man, I got to get me another room, man. It's going to drive me crazy. but Billy's very talented, and you can tell from his repertoire. But a little joke about the producer. We were at a studio called Quadraphonic in Nashville. Expensive studio. But Don introduced his little boy to all of this, and he took me to Nashville and introduced me to all these people, and they trusted me, and he trusted me, and I really cherished that album because that's. And then there was another guy named Billy Joe Shaver. He once told me, he said, "Don't get to laughing around here, boy. You ain't made it yet." You know, and then we did the thing in Nashville for Ivy Joe Hunter. And Nashville had never used a bass drum, you know, and I was able to use the bass drum. So, you know, it was quite an adventure, but...
You still owe me.
I do, honestly. And so, we were in the studio, all of us, Billy Joel, Bonnie Bramlett, everybody was together, Charlie Daniels, we had a ball. We were there for about 2 weeks, and there was a no-limit budget, so we all had fun. You could relax in the studio. But if you get an artist that's coming in and they got to go, man, they're charging me too much money, then you know you got to throw something together. But this was a very relaxed session. So Earl Scruggs, and he was one of the only guys I know who played banjo, played blues on the banjo. But so Earl was a helicopter pilot, and we took off for the weekend. Earl flew home to Knoxville, and on his way back Monday, the helicopter crashed. So when all the musicians got to the studio that morning, "Hey, Will, did you hear what happened to Earl?" I said, "No, man, what else?" I said, the helicopter crashed. I said, "God." So the producer said, "Is he all right?" And some guy said, "Yeah, man, he just got a few broken ribs." The producer said, "Damn, if he had died, we'd have double platinum in the room." But Bob Johnston, he produced Michael Murphy and the early Dylan stuff. He was quite a character. So, in essence, I guess you could say that God, I was brought in at the right time at the right place, and these people were so kind.
So let me go to...
But online.
Let me say something for Marvell. Marvell hadn't got to talk much, and I want him to. He's got a lot to say. But first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here. Look at all. I didn't think 6 people would come show up to see us. Thank you so much.